Hello, everyone. Good morning. In North America, good afternoon in Europe, and hello, everyone who is everywhere else, or if you are watching this on a recording. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being part of this movement of accessibility, of inclusion. We are really excited here to be with the Brickfield Labs team. They are a very committed team led by Gavin Henrik, as many of you probably know. Since 2019, Brickfield Labs has been leading the charge in these discussions of accessibility, of creating community, spreading the word, highlighting the importance, and so on. And for a couple of years, I believe now, they have been partners and our accessibility ally for OpenLMS. I'm really thrilled to have here Kara Conger, and Laia Canet. Sorry if that's your name.
No, it's great.
I'm going to have a really lively, interesting conversation. We hope to count on your comments, on your questions. We'll be able to chat about it. And as more people join, I invite you, if you haven't already, to join this site, the self-assessment test, which you can follow along as the presentation goes. So without further ado, hello, how are you guys?
Hi, Chris. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today with all of you and happy to share with you all what we have to explain you. So,
Awesome. I'm really excited. So let's get started.
okay, to begin with, we will be using PowerPoint Live. Just if you can scan these QR codes, and we can also, I will also copy and paste the link to the chat. Okay. For those of you that are not familiar with PowerPoint Live, it creates automatically captions for the presentation, and you can also get automatic translations. For those of you that are watching the recording, these links will be not available, but you will be able to watch the captions on YouTube. We will polish them, of course, but for the moment, those of you that can use I recommend you to try it if this is your first time. Providing captions is really an important thing, especially when we are doing this kind of sessions, even if they are online or if they are face-to-face. They are useful in both cases. Okay, we never know if someone has any problems by hearing or maybe by watching us, or there could be different situations in these kind of technologies, could be very beneficial to everyone. Okay, and it's a really easy tool to use. So I will leave it 30 seconds more if you want to scan the QR code, and we will start. In the meantime, Chris has also shared the link to do the self-assessment. It's really related to what I'm going to explain you, to talk to you today. Okay, if you want to self-assess your skills on creating accessible content, that's as a starting point is really interesting. Okay. Okay, let's move on and let's start. So the session today is about what's your accessibility rating, okay? How are you doing digital content accessible or not from the beginning? And this is a big question and really interesting. Do you have accessibility in mind just at the beginning or just at the end? Accessibility is something so important that we should have it. We should keep in mind and work with it just from the beginning. Okay, it means that the results will be much better, and it will require at the end less effort. If we usually, for relating with budget or with time constraints, we used to have accessibility in mind at the end or once we are about to finish, but it's a problem because then we have to redo lots of things, and sometimes it's not possible to change in a so big scope. Okay, so it's really important that having in mind some main principles, some main guidelines can help to create more accessible content, but also more quality content. Okay, so if you have gone to our site to do the test, the accessibility rating test, we have created a set of behaviors based on what we use for our trainings, our cubes with some tips, okay, or our zines with more tips to create content, okay. And today, what I'm going to do right now is explain you or just point out main good practices, main problems, and how to fix them, okay. So, for example, one of the main issues when creating digital content is alt text. We always need to provide when we provide non-textual content, we need to provide the textual version. Okay, so having both versions implies that our content will be more accessible to everyone. Okay, most people are scared about creating alt text. It's so sometimes it may seem that it's so difficult. It's not so difficult at all. The important thing here is that we keep in mind why is this image important. Okay, here we have two different examples of a possible alt text for this image. Here we have a tree with oranges, okay, and depending on the context, on the purpose of this image, we could explain it in more detail or in less detail, or we could highlight if this tree is isolated or if it's in a field with lots of other trees, depending on the purpose of this image. Okay, so um, there is no one only way of creating alt text. There is no only one option possible. There are multiple options. The best one, the one that fits to the purpose of the image at that moment, okay? Especially when we are creating educational content. Another important thing to keep in mind when adding images, resolution and contrast. It may seem so obvious that resolution is important and also good contrast, but it also has an impact. Okay, here we have an image of a long corridor in an Italian institution. The importance of resolution, we don't know people with which devices they will be looking at this image or in what context. Okay, it will be a very sunny day or they will be looking it in a smartphone. So having the images in good quality is really important. Remember that some people need to magnify these images. So if the basics of this image are in a bad quality, it would be almost impossible to get the picture of this image. Okay, and also contrast. We will talk later about contrast, but contrast is really important for everyone. If there is a lack of good contrast, we may have some problems in identifying or in viewing the image in completely. Okay, more about images. That's a nice one. Yeah, I said that for an image, we need the text version of this image. But what happens when we have images that they are in itself text? Some images have texts because we think that they look nicer or that they are more interesting than only having text itself. Okay, but they have some problems. For example, if the image is text, this image, even that the text is represented inside the image, this image will also need an alt text. Okay, this is an easy one to create, so you just need to replicate the content. Okay, we need the same words because, for example, a screen reader user will not be able to read the image. We need the alt text. But sometimes we use different devices. And if we need this image to be seen in a large format, maybe this image has not a good resolution, and then it can become more difficult to be seen. Okay, the quality of the image is not so good. Instead of this, if we use text as text, not as an image, it's much better because we can, if we need to resize the page, it will change. Okay, it will be it will work much better. Also, if we are using this content in different devices, for example, in a mobile phone, it will adapt to the size of our screen. If we are using an image, we will have more problems to get this image accessible, okay, on the perfect layout. So having images of text, try to use as less as possible, okay? And instead, it's better to use proper text. Uh, it works much better, okay? We have images, we have layout, the way we organize content. It's really important the way we use headings. All the content need to have structure. Okay, if we have long chunks of text, it's difficult for everyone to understand what's this text about, what are the main parts, the main sections. Okay, so using headings is the way that we have to organize this text. Here we have an example of an assignment where we need to read everything to understand what it's about and what we should do, okay? But instead, we could work in different ways. For example, if we use headings, we have a better way of organizing information. And this is exactly the same content as the previous slide, but it's organized using headings. We have the project overview, where we understand what we have to do here, the format, in which format we have to deliver this assignment, and some important remarks, things to take into account when creating this content or this exercise. Here, it's really simple. It's the same content, but the way we present information, we lay out the content, has an impact. It's difficult to create content in this format instead of the other one. I think that you would agree with me. The answer is no. It's not difficult. It just you have to get used to try to add some headings, organize or yeah, some titles, headings to each section. Also, it's important to use headings, proper headings. Okay, styles. When using styles, you need to use the headings. So it's the way to make the difference between the regular text and the title, the headings. Okay. Also, it's important that first using headings, but then also that if the titles that we add are meaningful, okay? So it allows the user or our students to just understand and to go faster to the specific parts of the content, okay? So try to keep with your titles as meaningful as possible. Also, other resources that can help you in creating this content and creating this structure and providing this sense of organization and easiness to access the content is using bullet points or using lists in general. Okay, bullet point or numbered. These ones are numbered. Uh, it's really easy to create them, and it's really easy for the users to use them, okay, and to access to the information when they are using. So it's simple things that you can start using, probably you are using, but just try to use them more in an intended way, okay? Try to, when you are creating your content, try to think, how can I organize better this content? Can I add headings to make it clearer what I'm going to talk about in this section? Can I organize all these ideas in a list so it's easier to get through them? Also, when we are creating links have to be accessible too. Okay, and usually links are is something so simple that we don't think about creating accessible links. Here we have two examples. Okay, the first one, the link is click here. When we have links like this one, click here, I don't know what this link will bring me to. Okay, this click here. What will happen here? I can guess, but I'm not sure. Okay. For the second one, newsletter. It's only newsletter. What will happen with newsletter? I'm going to read the newsletter. I'm going to subscribe to this newsletter. Okay, there are different options. Remember that screen reader users, one way that they have to access links is through a list of links. without the surrounding content, only the linked text. Okay, that means that if I have several click here's, it will be almost impossible to know where this click here will bring me to. Okay, so it's really important for screen reader users, but not only for them, for everyone. Okay, to have meaningful um, meaningful links. I have a couple of more of examples here. One of these, the first example is just a full URL, okay? Full URLs, I don't know exactly where this link is going to bring me to. I can guess that it's a Google Docs, maybe a form, but I don't know what kind of form or for specifically for what, okay? So the second option, the subscribe to our newsletter, is much better. Okay. If I have the text subscribe to our newsletter, I know where this link is going to bring me to and what will happen. So I can decide if I click here or not. Okay. So as simple as from today onwards, try not to add the links as the full URL. Try to create the link. With lots of programs, it's quite really easy to create the link instead of having the URL. It's much faster and more comprehensive for everyone. Also, another interesting one. Uh, Links should look like links. Okay. What does it mean? Sometimes, depending on how our web pages or our contents are created, there are some changes on the layout. Okay, and the links doesn't appear as really links. Okay, and the user may have some problems to identify if it's a link or not. For example, in the first line, there is simple text with no underline, with no color change. Okay, so we have to guess that there is a link here. Maybe if we move the mouse over this text, it will be a rollover and a mouse, and we will see that is a link. But in a first sight, you don't know if there is a link or not. Okay. The second example, we have the link underlined. It could be a link or not. Okay. Usually, we know that there is a link when there is underline and there is a different color. Okay. Usually, we tend to use blue, but depending on the general format, it could be different. Using italics or bolts, it doesn't mean that it has to be a link. Okay, so it's uncertain. It's much better to always try to keep to use the the underline and the color. Okay, what happened here? Okay, okay. Let's move to the next one, to the next area, media. When creating media, you know that media is audio and video, okay, and images. So we said when we have content that it's not textual, we need the textual version, okay? So for media, we also need the textual version of media. So at least we need captions. For captions, the best ones are the closed ones. Closed captions are the ones that the user can turn on and off, okay, that are not burned on the video itself. So the user can personalize the experience. And yeah, probably you are very familiar with captions. Nowadays, almost everyone uses captions on YouTube videos or also in series or whatever. Okay, so captions are really important, and here it's also important the quality of the captions. Okay, but at least this is the first step. We need captions, and captions should be as polished and as precise as possible. Captions are only the text are, go together with the video, but we can also provide transcripts. A transcript is a list of all the text that has been, all the speech that has been said into the video, and it includes also extra information, okay, needed to understand the content. Transcripts are great. Once you have captions, it's really easy to create transcripts. Okay, so it's really useful to have them. Transcripts are good for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Okay, but also for people with cognitive or learning disabilities. Being able to listen and learn at the same time and read at the same time, it's really interesting and helpful for some people. Or maybe we need to use content in a loud environment or where silence is required. Okay, I need to watch a video in a library, or I'm in a bar or in the metro, on the train, and it's very, very loud. So captions are really, really great. Captions are also interesting for people less fluent in the language of the audio, and they support the SEO of the content. In easily, captions are in text format. The text is searchable, so you can search also through all the content. So they only have good things for everyone. Okay.
So really quick,
Also,
Laia,
when
there's a quick question
yes.
about what if a video does not have audio?
Okay, that's a good one. What happens if a video does not have audio? If the video doesn't have audio, it's always interesting to add somewhere that the video has no audio, just in case someone thinks. It depends also on the video, but also providing the information this video has no audio, it's also a good idea. Okay, because you don't know if someone's, maybe we are seeing different images, but we can't listen if there is a narrator that we don't see. It's just to check that, and have the certain, be sure that you are not missing any information there.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if maybe there is some text inside the video. It should probably be part of the transcript.
If there is text on the video, and that, okay, let's go. Videos are really interesting. Yes, we can add this. If there is text, my recommendation is that we explain everything that is shown on the video. If there is text, if you are saying it aloud, it will appear on the captions. Okay, it's the same if you are showing, for example, a chart, and you start talking about the chart, but you are not describing the chart. This description should go into the transcript. Okay, but as a good practice, I would recommend you to, when you are doing an online session or even a face-to-face one, okay, try to describe always what you are showing, so people don't miss this information. This information will be automatically added on the captions if you are using a software to create an automatic transcript that you later will review. Okay, and it will be also added onto the transcript because if you are using the captions as a base to create them. Okay, so try to explain everything as much as possible would be my recommendation. It would be good for all your audience. Maybe someone has any learning disability, or just isn't comfortable with using the language, or doesn't know how to explain or how to use the language properly when with this topic. No, for example, with artworks. It's interesting to explain it, to describe them, because you are using the specific language. So you are becoming also a model for all your audience. So it's always good. Any other questions about videos? And if
None so far, but we remind you, anybody, any questions, any comments, please feel free to join into the conversation.
Yeah, sure. So, for example, here I have an image, about of a video recording, recording a person probably talking. We can see all perfectly. But the idea here, the message here is, video is great, but as always, the user has to have the control. It means don't create videos that autoplay. The user has to be able to play and stop them as required. Don't create these videos. Some time ago, it was very popular to add videos that they autoplay. And when you access a web page and everything, lots of different content starts autoplaying, it can be a mess. So it's better that the user has the control, so they can choose if they want to listen to it or not. The volume, with captions, also the user can choose the text size, the color, background color. So there are some features that could be interesting. So and we want to create content that works for everyone, or at least as much people as possible. So with media, create captions, create a transcript. Don't create the autoplay. Don't play them automatically. Okay. Okay, let's move to tables. Tables are great to create content, but only tabular data, only for data, okay? Here we have an example of a really complicated table with some merged cells and also subtables inside the same table, so nested tables. And for some users, it can be really, really difficult to get to this information, okay? So avoid merging cells, avoid nesting tables, avoid doing uh, all these kind of more difficult things. Try to keep them as simple as possible. Remember that some people only uses the keyboard to access this information, so it could be a mess if it's not well created with a clear structure. And it comes to the next recommendation, to the define the headers. A table should have a header for all the column and the rows, okay? It's really important to have this information so it's easier to understand the content of the table itself, okay? And it creates a more structured table and it's easier to understand for everyone, okay? And sometimes here we have an example also using, we have the headers, okay? But using also this zebra pattern may also make things easier to when trying to read the content, okay? And then the last recommendation related to tables, use tables only for data, not for layouts, okay? We can use CSS or different types of more complicated designs to create interesting layouts. But if we are presenting some kind of content, some data, use a simple data. If you are not using data, then use other tools, CSS or whatever, to present the information. Sometimes it's better if you have complicated or complex tables, try to split them in different tables, more simple tables that they are easy to understand, and then you can, all the users can work with them much better. Let's move into text. Text is another area in which we can do lots of things, okay? The way we use language is so important, okay? Try to use what we call plain language. There are different initiatives in the different languages, but the idea is that the way we use language should be as simple as possible, so everyone can understand and use, yeah, whatever we do, okay? It's important to be consistent and use concise language, okay? Capital letters are difficult to read, okay? They difficult readability. So it's really important that we don't use them at all, or at least in the minimum, as minimum as possible, okay? They are difficult to read. For example, dyslexic people really will struggle in reading this. So it's better to have it in sentence case and left align, as if possible, okay? It's much better.
Yeah, and then it also feels like they're yelling at you.
Yeah. So, for example, here I have this is the example of in capital letters. This is in sentence case. If you start reading, you can read faster in sentence case than in capital letters. So these are small things, small details, but they can have an impact. And one with another and another and another, at the end, they can make a big impact. Okay. Also, the way we use color, it's also important. We should use color. We should not use color only for meaningful purposes. Okay, if we need to represent color if we need to use color for a specific meaning, we should use also other items, as for example a mark, an asterisk, or even text. Okay, for example, here I have different colors. Someone red blind could barely see the difference between uh, green and red. Okay, so if we rely that green means something and green means something else, some people may not be able see this difference. Okay, so if I want to highlight something that is, for example, compulsory and it's in red, maybe I can add an asterisk or even in brackets compulsory. Okay, adding this information. So I ensure that everyone will get the same information. Also, color contrast, the background color and the text color. It's really important. Sometimes having a very poor white and very and black, it's too bright for some people, and sometimes it's difficult to read. Remember that depending also on the weather, if we are outside with our mobile phone, sometimes depending on the color contrast, it will be really difficult to read the contents. Okay, so color contrast is really important. So these were the main recommendations related to our cube, the tips that are on our cube, and also related to the test that you have got on our site. We offer all the tools, all the services. Okay, we have also all the accessibility audits of your courses, or we have the toolkit, the accessibility toolkit that it's embedded into Moodle. It's a great tool to help identifying the main problems in all the main problems related to accessibility when creating content inside Moodle or OpenLMS. Okay, we provide training also on accessibility. Some of this content is part of our training. Our training is very useful and very handy in the sense that there are small steps that you can do that can improve what you do every day, and it's not so difficult to implement in your daily life. Okay, sometimes it's just learning how to use the tools properly, identifying what practices you need to improve. Okay, that's the reason also of this of the test that we have. That will help you in identifying some of your training needs, okay, or the way you need the practices that you need to improve. And then we also have some interesting developments, okay, that we call the bundles. That are a set of tools that can be implemented into Moodle and OpenLMS environments. Some of them related to the course management, some others to skills and an assessment. And for example, the tool that you have used to assess your skills is one of the tools that we offer into the skills bundle, assessing competencies. Okay. Our philosophy is to find, fix, and future-proof. So we try to find all the errors. We run a set of checks to get them to understand what the problems, the accessibility problems in your content that you have. We create reports so you can understand better what the problems are, where they are, and then we have some wizards that will help you in fixing all these errors. Okay, and also the training would help, because what the wizards can't fix, we show you how to fix it manually. And then the toolkit is a starting tool. Okay, you will learn how to create accessible content from the beginning. And then we have all the future-proof parts. We need to create content that it will be accessible also in the future, providing different options, all the content conversion and the performance support. It's really important to learn, to understand why this problem is a problem, how to fix it, what's the impact, and how can you help your users, your learners, your participants in their learning process. Okay, so I don't know if there are any questions.
Yeah, we've had a very lively conversation here in the comments.
Okay.
I think you can go back to the first one from Boo1, kind of like a two-part comment about medical images. I think something is very specific, but it makes me think, like, I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but when I take an exam, like an X-ray or something like that, I get an image, right? Like with my bones or my lungs, I don't know. and then I get like a description of the observations, and sometimes can be very detailed, very technical, right? But I think it's very detailed, and I think it's kind of in the spirit, right? Like if and I think Gavin has some comment there that it's really important that it really it's about the context, right, as you mentioned, and the story you are telling.
Yeah, exactly. For images, we were quite fast, okay, and there are some slightly ideas, slightly tips that you can integrate in your daily practice. We have some images are more complex and they require a different way of working with them, okay? So it means they will need a longer description, probably around the text that you are presenting this image. It is in, if this image is in a test, probably you will need to do a slightly different way of describing this image, okay? Depending on the purpose of this image, if this image is for in a learning setting, you will describe in one way. If this image is in a testing setting, you will describe slightly different, okay? Probably most of the information will be there, but yeah, you can't give the answer inside the image description, but it's possible to describe the image, providing the information required that the person that is taking the test can determine what's happening here or can answer the question. Okay, it's possible.
Right. Yes. Well, personally, I find that pretty much all of the tips or the suggestions are very useful for any kind of learner, that it will facilitate the experience. And I think that's maybe a subtle point of the difference between like interface design of like a regular app and a learning experience design, where you are not just creating something that is kind of, I don't know, flashy or eye-catching, but something that helps the learner move forward and helps deliver the content that you are actually trying to teach, right?
Yeah, and that's really important because we want our learners to learn, and we create our content to make it possible, no? And sometimes we want to create some content that is very flashy, very eye-catching, but maybe it's not the best way. So, and maybe it doesn't work for everyone. And the idea is that I don't want any of my students that have more barriers because of the way I create the content. Okay, I want them to learn in as easily way as possible. So if I try to create the content that works for everyone, and it's not more time for me, because if I am doing from the beginning, it will be done right now. Okay, if I have to rework and to do and fix things, it will be more work at the end. So Rome was not built in one day. It means that there are lots of tips. You can't change everything in once, step by step. Start with following the tips that you are more comfortable with. And then once are part of your daily practice, you can move to the next one. All your students, all your learners will take advantage of this.
Right. Yes.
Great. So I do want to point everyone over to the chat, and at the bottom of the screen is the link for the tips that you can print out, help you promote accessibility awareness within your organization. So these are support materials for your internal use. They can be work aids or educational tools. Really fantastic stuff, just an easy way to start to get this out to other people within your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that also is kind of implied in what we've been talking about is the importance of thinking about the audience first, and maybe the content second. Like I see like the two extremes. One extreme is like something really flashy and over designed, maybe even, but then in the other is maybe those teachers, and I had plenty of those in my time, of teachers that didn't really care about whether you get the right content or not. They just kind of dumped a bunch of texts, like plain texts, like very difficult to read. And I think that's are kind of the two extremes, and they're both bad on their own, but for their own reasons. And
Yeah,
that's why
it
it's so
depends.
important to focus in on the real needs of the real users.
But it's also a matter of, okay, most of these accessibility recommendations also implies that your text is more organized, is more understandable. It also helps you because when I have to create headings for the different sections of my text, I have to think, okay, what's important thing here? And it helps me when creating this content as well. So having these recommendations in mind, I think they are great also when creating the content. It helps me when creating the content, okay? And using styles, using the lists. There are simple things, but they help me also in creating more quality. At the end, implementing all the accessibility recommendations increases the quality of your teaching and your content.
No, absolutely. And I think one common concern or kind of an objection to accessibility or to designing things with an accessibility mindset, like from the beginning, is it's gonna take longer. Maybe it's going to cost extra. But I think, as we have discussed, if your goal is to actually deliver learning, not doing so is going to compromise the experience, and not just for the couple of people with some disability or some special need, but for everyone.
But at the end, having this into consideration from the beginning, it means that if you have a blank page, an empty page, you can do whatever you want, whatever you need. Okay. The thing is, you have the opportunity to think from having in mind different people, different possibilities. Okay. Think about what are you doing right now? Is the best way? Could be different ways that you could engage more your students, or that different people could benefit from. Uh, Questioning ourselves is always, I think, a good strategy, a good way of trying to improve things, no? And check with your students what works with them, what could be better. Okay, I think um, sometimes we think that it's more work. It depends. Okay, that it's more work. Start thinking, changing. It's a
Mhm.
process of change. It's a journey, um, but it's part of your teaching essence, changing and
Yeah,
improving.
absolutely. Okay, and I think just to wrap things up, I just want to share this kind of kudos to the Brickfield team for the design of the site. It's like everyone who is following, who took the self-assessment, they will see that the site is really clean, really quick. And they ask if this is a special interface or is this something that's coming to Moodle. I think Gavin answered this one.
Yeah, we are using the Boost Union theme, and with, as always, we have the tools. It depends how we use them. The result will be in one way or another. Okay, in the to answer the quiz or the test, the self-assessment, we have it's one of our tools that we provide in our bundles, the Campus Plus, and it's a self-assessment tool. So there are different tools that can help you in creating this kind of experiences, but also the layout is really important. We are taking decisions every day, every time, and these decisions have an impact, usually also on accessibility as well. So choosing about the theme, the way we organize content in our courses, it has an impact on accessibility too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess on that note, we can end this session for now. But as you have mentioned many times, it is a journey, and this is a journey that we are all taking together. There are tools, there are resources, there is support, there is community, and we hope you stay in touch with us, with OpenLMS, with Brickfield Education Labs, so we can continue this, not just this month, although this month we are continuing to create more content about this. We are going to be sharing statistics about how people are faring, maybe what are some of our weak areas. So if you haven't done the test, please do it. And just let's continue the journey all together. Thank you so much, Cara, Laia.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye. I'll see you next time.